episode of Elvenhome, in which I do a couple of things. First of all, I complete the work on putting the gutters and downpipes, I hope in a more focused and direct way than I managed to do last time. But I also took the opportunity, because this is the 50th video that I've put up since I started doing this channel, and I thought it would be quite nice to look back over the build of Elvenhome and to take a look from what was a very much a greenfield site into what we have now. So the work on the putting the gutters and downpipes on is interspersed with a retrospective, where I take a look at how the layout has grown and developed even in the design from when I first started work on it in May 2016. At the end, I talk about in more detail the work that I'm going to be doing at the end of the terraced houses and in and around the station, and I also seek your help. As you know, I really enjoy the comments that people make and find them really very helpful. But as you will see, there is a space in front of the station, or near the station, which I am puzzled by and on which I'd welcome your help. So if you feel the need to give me some comments on what you think might go in a vacant space, watch to the end. Thank you to all the new subscribers that's come along since the last video and in recent months. And as I always say, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. It'd be lovely to have you along. But let's get back to the work that I was doing at the end of the last video to finish off the work of putting gutters and downpipes on the block of terraced houses and shops. Okay, well, a little while later, I've completed the 4 buildings with the gutters and downpipes. If I bring this in, let's get this to focus properly. Thank you. You can see that's got the gutter, the downpipe, and the pipe leading out of the kitchen. I think that was the one that I did first, and similarly that's now, if I bring it into camera, that's now done there. So those have all been completed for the 4 houses. I've also, on the 2 end houses, the 2, that's gone out of focus again, come back in, thank you. On the 2 shops, this one is at the far end, and on the front will be the long gutter running at the front. But you do need to put a gutter and a downpipe on the side, and this has been done in just the same way as the other gutters, only here you probably won't be able to pick it up, but on here there's 2 turns of wire which are helping put that into position, and then the gutter is fitted just running down. And then on this building you need to put the gutter that will take the water from that part and run the pipe down. So I've completed now all the things that I need to do while these buildings are separate. And I can start now sticking them together. And sticking them together really is nothing more complex than taking each building, putting some glue, rocket car glue on this side wall and this side wall, and then sticking them together. So I'll go off and do that, and then I'll show you what I do before I start putting on the gutters and downpipes on the front, which I'll do first, and then the last thing I'll do is fit the gutters and downpipes on the main part of the buildings at the back. So let me just stick this together as a block, and then I'll show you how I've done. There's 1 or 2 other things I do just slightly to reinforce it, but nothing major. So I'll be back in just a second to show you the block stuck back together. Okay, well, I've completed sticking the buildings one to another until I've got the whole block, and they are now indeed stuck together. If I pick this up, you can see they're all stuck together. But I've found that just relying on the contact between the individual buildings it is not wise, because particularly if by any mischance you were to rest it down at one of the joins on the base, there's a chance that it will start to come apart. So we need to strengthen those joins, and I do that in a couple of ways. First of all, I cut up lots of, this is the cobblestone, but it's a nice thick card, and of course it's the same thickness as the cobblestones that are on the layout. So if I place 2 of those as I did on the other one across overlapping the joins, that gives it a lot of strength and protects these joins, which is the weakest point. In addition, you'll see that although I've butted them all up together, you can still see the joins between the roofs, and I don't really want that, thank you very much. So using some of the Metcalfe roof tiles that they provide, which you get tons of in their kits, I've got so many sets of them. Let's move it to this one so you can see it better. I'll cut an L shape out of the top so that it butts up against the chimney, and that will then sit over the join and will help those, and that also then is strengthening the whole thing. And finally, as I mentioned, if I bring this down into camera, let's just lift the camera up a bit there, go. I will use the capping stones that come with the kit to start putting the capping stones on the top here, which of themselves of course start covering up lots of, that's gone out of focus, well done, there you go. So they'll all be fixed onto there. I'm going to do that piece of work before I try and do any work fitting the gutters and downpipes, and when I come back I'll have cut up all the gutters and downpipes that I need to use, and we'll talk you through that process before I start doing that as well. So what you're looking at now is the space where the baseboards are going to go. They're on order, they're due to be here on Thursday, and on which I will be building Elvenhome, my model Engage layout. Well, here I am back now, having completed the sticking on of the capping stones, and also completed putting on the roof tiling, which is actually being used really as flashing, but it does the job and it covers the gaps at roof level. And in fact, I mentioned in an earlier video that I also have been sticking pieces of cobblestone, Metcalfe card across the bottom, but I really don't need to. That is entirely solid now, with the capping stones having gone across, and you'll see how much difference that makes, just putting that over and getting rid of more white space. The next thing to do is to fit on the guttering for the remainder of the back, and also the guttering at the front of the properties. And on the desk here you can see cut out the various pieces of guttering waiting to be fixed on. This is the front section. This piece is supposed to be one length, but I managed over two different pieces of the board to cut bits off, so I don't have one length. So I'm going to have to put two pieces on, which will go on the front, and we'll come back to those later, just before I put them on. The back requires the creation of two L-shaped pieces, and this is simply taking two pieces of the right length. Obviously you measure for the longest length, and then mitering them with a 45-degree mitre in the middle and sticking them together. I used the plastic weld to stick these two pieces together, and then, to the extent that was needed, touched up with paint afterwards. But the beauty of that is that if your cut isn't exactly 45 degrees, because the plastic weld actually melts the plastic, you can mould it gently to form your right angle using a set square. And that needs to be put into here. These shorter pieces will go between the buildings there, and then there's an L shape for the far end. And that's the piece of work that I'm now going to do. Downpipes and the gutters have now been fitted to that corner, and as you can see there's a slight fall to the left hand side, which was just getting over the slightly different roof line between the two kits, but the gutter bends quite nicely, and it gives a fall which there would be on a gutter. It's not entirely flat. And I've also put in below one of the windows, if I get a pointer, just down here, a pipe coming out, because this building here does not have a piece that juts out all the outside loos, which is what would be in here. So that needs somewhere for the sink, and I'm just assuming that this, which is a shop and house, has either inside loos or a privy there somewhere. So we'll see. Either that, or they'll have to go next door to the neighbour. What I've also done is taken the opportunity, if I come down here, for the gutters to put the little bracket on that's going to hold, and I've also drilled the holes. One of them is just about here. Oops, you can't see that. Try and come up. There we go. One of them is just about here. So I've put the wires on all of those and on the end pieces. And what I'll now do is just go through and fit all those in and fit the downpipes. And that's all that needs to be done, is that you just now need to fit downpipes. Okay, so I've completed the backs of the houses, just the fronts remain to be done. And that is 3 separate gutters, one for the two end, one each for the two end buildings, and a long gutter that goes through there, and then downpipes dropping down from each of the properties. So I'll just move the camera again and work on those, and then this block will be completed. Well, that completes the work, finally, of doing this. It takes quite a long time, I have to say, but I'm quite pleased with the outcome of that. I think that looks fine. I've not had to buy lots of gutter kits. So that finishes this section and part 2 of gutters and downpipes. And here you see the block now sitting on the layout. That's now the 3rd block completed, because I completed the back of this block, which was the first one that I did. And the block behind is the one that you saw me working on in the previous video. So now that just leaves me the one at the back there to complete, and you can see that it's still as separate buildings. So now that I've completed that work, and I now know precisely how these are going to sit in, and I have the cobbles down, it allows me to turn my attention to the scenic work in front of the station building and to what would be the south of the station, because the station roughly runs north to south. So if I just gently move you a bit further up, I can reveal to you, if I come out a little, this next piece of work. I've completed the ballasting as I said I would, which takes right round to the curve to just before the wooden board, if I use my high-tech pointer. So the ballasting stops about here. That's partly because I want the ballasting on the board to be entirely separate from the rest of it, in case I need to take the board out, because there are point motors sitting under there to give me access in the event that anything starts going a bit funny. And that's allowed me then to turn my attention to the station and how I think I want the station to be laid out. Now, I've spent a little bit of time on Google looking at how late 1940s, early 1950s, reasonably important stations, this isn't huge by any means, are laid out. And one of the things that's really striking is the absence of a car park, because I was going to put a car park in here. Some of them do have, but what they're not marked out car parks of the kind that we would expect now, more an open area in which cars parked fairly freely and loosely. But they weren't by any means common. And that got me thinking. Now, this is not drawn to scale, it's just to give me an idea. I'll start on the right of your picture here, which is this rather strange thing. That is going to become a square. I've made it out of 1mm plasticard, which I think that's 1mm, which has been cut to size, and that's going to have some of the scale model park railings around it, and I will show myself making that, because the idea is that at the ends here there will be a paved area going along the end. The centre here is going to be greenery, possibly a children's playground. I'm going to Model Rail Scotland next Friday, and I want to have a look at the Langley children's playground kit to see how small they are. I think I'll be able to get a swing and a slide and possibly a roundabout in there, but we'll see. But the basic idea is that it's a green area acting as a kind of roundabout, which helps traffic flow around there. But it would have been built in originally just as a green area near or by the station. This area here is going to be entirely handed over to the parcels office, which is what this building is. So it would be receiving goods in either at the platform there or going up the ramp for which the entry is to there, possibly with a green area here and with a pavement running along here. The main area of the station is going to have a central area, which is going to be where the cab rank is, and so that cabs can sit and wait parked around two sides of here, probably with a sheltered waiting area in the middle. And Cornton Models do a little model of a butty cabin where you can buy your bacon butties. And I think it's likely to be about the same size as the newsagents, which I did a little while ago. If it is, I probably will try and get that, because I suspect having some bacon butters there would be quite good. So pavement runs up to here. It's paved area all around in front of the station and up to here. There's obviously a paving area. This is all paved area. And here I will set this so that this is where buses stop. So the buses come in through here, go round to here and stop there to pick up and set down passengers, and then can drive off out. And the beauty of that is that it's given me a one-way system. I don't need to have that too wide for things to pass. Because again, the number of buses coming in and out of here would not be huge. So turning slightly to the left of it now is the bit where there's one bit which I'm stumped on, and you may be able to guess which bit that is. This area here is also an area which has a delivery hatch. And I'm not, so there will be, I would see this as being for mail delivery, separate from over here, which is the parcel stuff. So there will be an area cordoned off here to allow mail vans to come in and lorries to deliver to that area. This may well be as much of a car park as they get, as a kind of pretty open standing area, a bit like up at Grey Havens, where you know there's no marked area, there's just a big area sitting in front of the station. Again, this will be paved all along here, because the paving is going to run up to here, because this then I can begin the scenic work. There's meant to be a road running down here to some gates, and then this is walled around. That is unpaved, but obviously people can walk across it most of the time because engines are not coming in and out very often. But it's what I put in here. That, I think, ought to be buildings of some kind. But for the life of me, I can't yet imagine what that would be. It could be some shops, I suppose. It could be some warehouses. It could be an industrial unit. The Metcalfe warehouse kit, which I've got and I've put in that space, is just the wrong shape and size and colour. It just looks wrong. So that is something, if any of you have got any ideas what you think could go in here, please do let me have your comments, because that would be very gratefully received. So the work that I'm going to be doing now is starting the work of landscaping all around here, because that will then allow me to finish the work which I was talking about just a moment ago of the ballasting. Because although the track has been ballasted, I've not finished off with scenic detail, in part because once I complete the work in front of the station, we then start on the work in this area, which is where the war memorial will go, sitting in its memorial park. And that will set the boundary with the railway, and then I can put the hedges in and do all the work, doing the scenic work up to where I've finished ballasting. So that's been quite a long trot through all the things that I'm going to do, but that's the things that are in my mind. If any of you have any ideas what goes in that space, I'd very much welcome them, because that is the thing that's just cudgelling my mind at the moment. So with that completes this episode of Elvenhome. I hope you've enjoyed it, particularly the retrospective, which I thoroughly enjoyed putting together. I left out loads and loads, of course, but was really fascinating to see the railway from an empty space to what we have now, which is, if I do a quick sweep from the work that sits up at the top there, and all the track and points and wiring that's in place, to what we've got now, and it's really beginning to come together. If you've liked the video, please do give it a like. That's really very helpful for getting the videos seen. And if you haven't subscribed, well, please do subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you'll know when I'm uploading. But until I speak to you again, that's it from me. Bye bye.